Hey guys, Coupons Provide here, and today I am coming at you with a planner setup video for my mini happy planner. Of course, I like to do a junk journal / happy planner mashup style planner, so we are just going to jump right in. Of course, staying true to using minimal supplies, we're using one paper pad. And the one paper pad actually divides itself into 12 months by giving you 2 sheets per month. So we're going to create this look with 2 sheets of craft paper. So I love everything Graphic 45 and I love the Children's Hour prints. I'm going to be combining that with tea or coffee stain paper, some scratch paper from a friend mail, and some black cardstock. Using a planner cover protector or the original cover to your planner or whatever size you want to use for your planner. I don't do technicalities here. We're going to use that as our cut guide. I'm going to take the black cardstock and fold it in half. Then I'm going to take a ruler and a blade and trim the edges. Super simple. To create a background for our cover, I want to use some of the coffee stain paper. I would suggest doing a big stack of this paper ahead of time so you can always have it on hand when you need it. I'm going to take this kind of frayed edge ruler that's supposed to look like ripped paper and rip the edges because I want to give it a tattered, more worn look. I'm going inside the border, really no rhyme or reason, just kind of going with it so I don't have measurements for you. And mind you, we have to maximize 2 sheets of paper. And a lot of them have gorgeous prints. So I figured fussy cutting around the edges of some of the prints would allow us to add layers and texture and the cute design to each one of the covers without cutting straight lines or dividing the sheet into clean cuts. It'll give us a lot more room to play instead of just kind of cutting straight lines into the paper. The second sheet that they give us has a lot of those clean line options, so it's easier to pick and choose something to cut out straight from the paper that you could put directly onto your paper or customize however you want. And on this one, I'm going to take these little stamp boxes and cut them out. I thought this would be a fun way to add some layers to our image. Also, you don't have to keep things together, mind you. You can definitely cut and play with the texture of all the different things. In this video, I thought it would be fun to kind of keep all of my playing with each item. Usually I'll cut that out to make the video a little bit shorter, but I feel like it's fun to see how the variety of layouts change up until the exact moment that you put glue or tape to your paper and stick it down and make it permanent. I changed my mind exactly like up until that very point. So there is no right or wrong, and you can do whatever you want and play with it however you like and change it as many times as you need to until it finds its new home. Now that we've kind of got an idea of how we want the front of the cover, we're going to go ahead and begin playing with the back side of the cover because of course there has to be images and texture on all the sides of all the things. So this next one, we're going to do kind of the same thing. We're going to find an image that we like and we're going to fussy cut around it. It's just going to give us something fun to play with. And of course, we don't want too many straight lines because we are kind of doing a junk journal style theme here, and I want to create some tuck spots. Now, they are kind of like pockets, but you can tuck papers into them and they don't have a bottom. So that's why I call it a tuck spot or tuck pocket or whatever you want to call it, whatever your technical term is going to be. We don't do technicalities again, so I took a strip of the image and I just chopped it up into 3 pieces. And this is going to give me my little sections to have little spots to tuck pieces of papers or little cards or tags or whatever into. So now that we have an idea of what we want, we're going to go ahead and begin adding color to those images. I'm just going to take some contact paper that you can get from a dollar store, or I actually got a huge roll of it for free at a thrift store, which was awesome. And I'm going to use that to line my mat because this ink and stuff makes a lot of mess and it's kind of hard to clean these mats. So for the sake of the video, I am going to use my Happy Planner punch, but you don't have to. I have many tutorials in my playlist section for the Happy Planner on how to punch with a dollar store punch and scissors, and it works just the same. I still do it, especially on my hardcovers that you can't use the punch on. So I'm going to take some double-sided basic brand tape, which is BAZIC, that I usually find at King Dollar. You can find it online, I'm sure, on Amazon or something. And I'm going to make a pocket out of the cover. So I like to glue the punch area and then just double-sided tape the bottom area. I'm going to use a basic craft glue, and it's going to give us a pocket. Once we have our pocket, we can go ahead and begin playing with the texture or the colors of our paper. Now I'm going to use only 2 inks for the sake of this video because I feel like it's very important to maximize our project with minimal supplies. Just showing you guys what you can create on a budget. You don't have to ball out of control to create adorable craft projects, especially when it's something you love, like junk journals or anything vintage looking, or even fun, colorful things. You can do it on a budget. So I'm using the Tim Holtz Distress Oxide inks in Vintage Photo and Ground Espresso, and we're just playing with all of our papers. You're going to see this repeated a lot. So the dowel in this video that I use is actually a DIY dowel. I made it using a Target Dollar Spot rubber stamp dowel and furniture pads that I found at the dollar store. So you know your options are limitless. You don't have to break the bank. So as you can see, I'm just kind of going and creating as I go. There is no right or wrong. So whenever I'm distressing and I like a super thick, like streaky distress, I'll run the paper's edges through the ink pad to where it's kind of wet, and then while it's wet, I'll pull that ink across and give it streaks as opposed to a blended distress with the dowel. I kind of like that look. I feel like it gives it, I don't know, some kind of damage to the page, but it looks pretty and all that jazz. So I'm going to add a little height by cutting out that flower and putting some double-sided foam tape on there, and that's just going to give it a little bit. Now you don't want too much height when it comes to your planners because when you're writing you got to have all that stuff on there, but sometimes it's just fun to add a little extra. So we're just going to do this until I find a place for everything. There is no right or wrong when it comes to glue, guys. I play with all kinds of different glues as I'm working. I'll use regular school glue, glue stick, Elmer's glue, Eileen's glue, Fabri-Tac. I mean, there is no right or wrong. You can just judge it and use what you want where you feel like you want it. Now, if you've ever seen a package with old tape on it, you see that it's kind of browned. So I'm just going to take a super tiny strip of masking tape, just kind of rub the excess ink onto it, and use that as an aged strip of tape on this little flap. Again, really no purpose, just because I didn't want a bright piece of clean tape on there. I decided to go ahead and add some color. Alright, so now we're moving on to the back side of the pocket. I want to make sure that I punch the holes first before inking and gluing and all of that, because you can't put it back into the punch after you've already glued it to repunch it because it's too thick already. So you have to decide that before you go ahead and glue everything down. Once you've decided, you can go ahead and trim up all your pieces, place them, and begin adhering everything down. Again, it's going to be the same logic that we did on the front. The only difference is on the back side, on these ripped edges, I really like to enhance the edges and kind of give it a burnt paper look, if that makes any sense. And I'll be sure to add a little extra dark ink along those frayed edges because I feel like it just gives it something extra. Now the reason I'm gluing the whole punch side is because of course I don't want to fussy cut around each one of those punches to add double-sided tape, because if you do that you're not going to get it as clean as it is with the glue stick to adhere completely flat down, and then you'll have distressing or damaging of the paper where it doesn't adhere fully with double-sided tape around the punch holes. So we are gluing the punch side and then double-sided taping, whatever, adding double-sided tape to the not punch side. Now that we've finished the front cover of the planner, we are going to begin working on the closed dashboard. Now, if you are new to the channel, welcome. I actually created the closed dashboard a very long time ago because I really didn't like the fact that everything on my dashboard, such as sticky notes and page flags and all that, were getting damaged or falling off or whatever with regular use in my bag or just, everyday use. So I decided to create a dashboard that is closed so that it doesn't rub around and things don't fall out, because we're going to be adding adhesive pockets as well. So what we're going to do is take 2 pieces of the black cardstock or whatever, 2 pieces of paper, and we're going to punch them. And you want to make sure you get the punches aligned as perfect as possible. So just take your time punching the holes, or take your time setting everything together, because you want it to be super clean. Since this is four layers of paper, the holes can get very uneven very fast. And when you do that, it makes it hard to pull in and out or open the cover in the planner when your stuff is in there, and it's just gonna not work as well. So we're gonna glue these 2 pieces together. Now you could opt to create a pocket on these covers, but for me, personally, since we're going to be putting some heavyweight stuff here, I don't want the pages to be flimsy. I feel like that just won't add to the structure or the durability of the dashboard opening and closing. So I'm going to adhere the pieces together and have a full, thick 2-sheet cardstock cover as opposed to a flimsy pocket cover. As you set the dashboard aside to dry, we're going to go ahead and start playing with how we're going to decorate the inside of the dashboard, because we're going to do all sides of the dashboard. Now, of course, we're just going to use more of the coffee stained paper because I feel like this gives a nice pop of color and a good background to the images that we've already been using. So by this point, we're already kind of sure how we want to play with things, or we have an idea of how we can play with the little bits of what we have on the sheet that's left over. So I'm going to take some of the coffee stained paper, rip it again with the clean edge, because the clean edge is going to go along the punch side, and then of course we're going to do the same thing by adding the ink. So the coffee stain paper, what I do love about it is that once it's dipped, it kind of has this thick dry texture, so whenever you blend onto it, it looks very grainy, and I love that grainy look. But on these, we're going to change it up just a little bit. So once you've done your light distressing, go ahead and punch your holes, because we're going to come back through here with another color. Now, since the coffee stain paper is a little bit thinner, you might want to put a thicker piece of paper behind it and then punch, or you can just, when you punch, kind of close the punch a couple of times just to be sure to get all the little frayed pieces, because it is thin and it won't punch all the way, or you can just go through and trim them off. But now that we have our now that we have our lighter color, we're going to go through and distress or add the ink to the hole punched areas. And then we're going to crinkle up this paper, because one, it's going to add some fun texture, but two, when you take that darker color and rub it over the tops of the lines from crumbling it, it looks gorgeous. Now you can take a glaze and run it over this, and it'll actually look like a tattered faux aged leather, which I absolutely love. And I've actually showed you how to use an actual glaze or create your own using dollar store products in my Halloween video for my Happy Planner playlist and all that. So feel free to watch those videos. Now we've gotten that done, and we're going to go ahead and begin again fussy cutting out some of the images from the paper. Now I kind of want this to scatter itself over the entire dashboard, but it's hard to do that without using all the repeat images. So I want to give it a totally different look by fussy cutting around and letting the image direct itself in the direction it wants to go. I know that sounds crazy, but when you're cutting, there's a flow to the sheet and to the images, and it just kind of takes you wherever it needs to go. So I'm going to fussy cut around a fairly large image to use on each side of the inside of the dashboard cover, and you'll see what I'm talking about once I'm done doing all of this. At this point, now that we have everything in place, we're going to go ahead and take the edge of a ruler and give it a nice fold because we did layer some paper over the crease that we already had. So that also needs to be creased. Once you have everything in its place and it's all adhered, you can go ahead and begin adding your plastic pockets. Now these I actually get from the Target dollar spot. I had a friend send me some in a friend mail recently, and so many, like so many, I don't think I'll have to buy any for a long time. So thank you so much, Janet, for that. Now we are going to add the pockets in here, and I like to put my pockets sideways because no matter how you throw your planner into your bag or carry it around, your stuff will not fall out, whether it's right side up or upside down, because the pockets are side to side. That's one of my favorite things to do. It just causes a lot less damage. So now that we have the inside of our dashboard completed, we're going to go ahead and begin working on the outside of the dashboard. Mind you, every side of your dividers in your planner setup are going to be visible. So when you flip through your planner, you want to see all the decorative pretty things on all the sides of all the dividers. Now if you don't know what I'm going for here, I have a front divider cover. So it's the planner cover that is in my junk journal to show me where the beginning of my planner starts. Front cover always has a pocket or fun tuck spots or whatever, just for extra things like receipts or any notes or anything that I come across during the day. Now the next one is always the dashboard. The dashboard is also a purposeful functional piece. And then we're going to go ahead and add some extras just to kind of utilize all of our supplies and get max use and look out of the whole layout. So I'm going to do the same exact thing that we've been doing through the entire tutorial, which is pick an image and begin playing with the layers and the texture using the same simple paper, which is the coffee stain paper, the cardstock, and the image that we still have from the two sheets. So even though this image is very similar to the front cover, we're actually going to create a pocket out of this. So we're going to add the tape to the bottom and left side so that we can tuck the paper into the right side. Now the flower is just going to be a little bit of an embellishment, and it's going to be raised on the lower left corner. So when you put the paper into the pocket, it's actually going to tuck into that little spot, and it's not going to stop the pocket from being a pocket, if that makes any sense. So that's all I'm doing with the little flower on the left corner there. And then I added another little tiny piece of flower to kind of cover the cut edge that was very visible. I didn't want that to be too visible and obvious that I cut it off that piece. So there you go. Now we have a pocket on the back of our dashboard. Now on the other side of our dashboard, I want it to be a little more decorative than function, but of course it takes the smallest piece to create function on your covers. So this one is just going to be a little tuck spot for a small note or a small tag or a receipt or anything like that. I'm basically just going to take the coffee stain paper, some of the straight line cuts from the second sheet, and then fussy cut another little image and put it in the lower corner so that we create a little tuck spot. Alright guys, so I thought I'd just let you enjoy that little bit without any talking because I have a tendency to ramble on because I'm a talker. But we are going to move on to the final piece of our setup, the back cover. So we're going to do the same exact steps using the last bit of supplies that we have. So I want, of course, this to be more functional than decorative because we want to get max use out of our supplies and add more function to our planner. So we are going to make the back cover into a pocket. Now, we are using a lot of scraps, and the easiest way to use the scraps is creating pockets. So I'm going to take this odd triangular corner and use that as the pocket form. Of course, I'm going to add the layers using the coffee dyed paper. Now, mind you guys, we have only been using 2 pieces of craft paper or decorative craft paper and some plain printer paper that's been coffee dyed, a ruler and a blade, some tape and glue. Like, this is super basic, and I really want you guys to see that you can get a gorgeous piece of art or something that suits your personality on a budget for sure. You don't have to break the bank, you don't have to know all the name brands, you don't have to do all these things. You could definitely do it on a dime. So we are going to pretty much stick to the same steps that we've been sticking to and begin layering in the same order that we have done so far. Now, I'd like to keep the repeat steps in the video so that you can get comfortable with them and it becomes more natural to remember that there are options. You don't have to do the same thing every single time, but I feel like it helps the mind use its muscle memory and gives you more options on what you can do in different projects. Now, I, again, absolutely love a lot of grunge, and you don't have to do that. You can do whatever you want, but I like for mine to look like super aged, super used, super tattered, and I think this is just a fun way to do that. It makes it look like it has some story behind it or a lot of use behind it, and that's what I like. So all we did was we cut a straight strip, cutting off all the tattered or frayed edges of what we've been using on this full sheet. And at the bottom, I let a lip overhang so that we could fold it over and have that full use of the pocket. Now on this one, we are going to adhere the entire thing because on my back cover, I like for it to be structured. I like to have durability. I feel like I just want it to be a nice dividing sheet. So once we take our black cardstock and adhere it, we're going to begin layering on the pieces to create our pocket form. We've already punched everything, so again, we want to make sure that that is done so you can actually have everything aligned and you don't have to worry about it not fitting into the punch unless you're going to be hand punching it with the dollar store punch, as I explained before. Now we're going to go ahead and take our coffee stain paper and begin gluing it in place. I want to add glue to the entire thing because if you're going to be sliding things in and out of this pocket, you don't want it to snag on any loose pieces. If you make any mistakes or there are little pieces that hang over or whatever, it doesn't matter. You can just go through, trim it up. As you can see at the top, I had a little bit of overhang and that really doesn't matter. We're just going to adhere our sheet down and trim it off, clean it up with the blade. To create the pocket form, we're just going to take some of the double-sided tape and put it along the bottom of the folder and along that little flap to keep it in place. And of course, we're going to glue our punch side down again so that it's nice and solid and there's no fraying or lifting of the punched edges. Next, on the very back of the cover, I just want it to be more decorative and I want to utilize some of the pieces that we didn't use from the sheets. So I'm going to take some of the strips and pair that up with some of the coffee stain strips that I have set aside. and add a lot of fun layering on the back side of the cover. Again, this is just the back cover, so you don't need a lot of function. You want it to be nice and flat so that when you go into your actual planner, then it's not adding too much layering right there on the planner pages when you're writing into your planner. So a flat surface is always good when you're going to be writing on that surface in your planner. Alrighty, so that is pretty much it. Now, if you really don't have any clue why I create my planner like this, I have a tutorial on my channel combining a junk journal style journal section and cover with the Happy Planner, which is this exact planner cover and planner that you're looking at. So we're going to take our Happy Planner pages and rings and put them together with our new covers. So as you can see, we have the front cover and then the dashboard, the planner pages, and the back cover. And I showed you guys how to incorporate this planner into a junk journal style cover using denim jeans and all that fun stuff. If you want to check that out, go ahead and check out the videos on my playlist. So if you enjoyed this style of video or maybe want to experiment with this style of planner, let me know down below what your favorite part is or what you're most curious about. I have enjoyed this style so much because I feel like it just has a lot of personality. And that's pretty much it for today, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Comment down below. Let me know what your favorite journal style is or planner style is. And you can follow me on my social medias, on my Instagram or Facebook group at Coupons Provide. And don't forget, guys, keep couponing. Bye!